What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today we're looking at the results of the Limitless Online Series Weekly number 9, which was held on November 27th, and there were almost 300 people in this tournament, so the results are really relevant and indicative of what is good and what is popular in the Vivid Voltage standard format. So stay tuned if you're interested in the standard format metagame of Team Up through Vivid Voltage, and also the deck lists and the decks that did well and won this tournament. Before we take a look at this, shout out to PotownStore.com, my lovely sponsor, and coincidentally the sponsor of the LOS Weeklies, as well, as you can see up there on the site. Use code Celio for 5% off, and if you're watching this during Black Friday weekend or Thanksgiving weekend, whatever you want to call it, they're having some great deals specific to this weekend, so check that out and use code Celio for an additional 5% off. So yeah, we're on play.limitlesstcg.com here, looking at the results of LOS Weekly number 9. And before we look at the results, I wanted to look at the metagame real quick and highlight something super interesting. Colossal as a deck had a 64% win rate. I believe before Top Cut it had a 70% win rate, but don't quote me on that. It was a lot closer to 70%. But yeah, so rounding it out, we'll just say it ended at a 64 or 65% win rate by the end of the tournament. Almost 300 people. No other deck even came close to having that. No other deck hit 60% win rate, even the decks that just a couple of them were played. So that was really cool to see this deck kind of pop out and have a really good showing. Alex, Marlon, and Diego all finished really well at 6th, 7th, and 13th place with Colossal variants. I did take a look at the matchups before starting to record this, and Colossal players hit a total of 13 Eternatus over the day and went 13-0, which is something that really boosted their win percentage. But they didn't only play against Eternatus. They hit a lot of Scorch. They hit 10 of those, which are a bad matchup, and went 4-6. They hit Lightning Mew 3, which is a close-ish matchup, and went even. Hit 8 Blacephalon, which can be close, but I think Colossal should typically win, and that was 7-1 in favor of Colossal. So really cool that we can see these results and these win rates on the play.limitlesstcg site. And we will be looking at 2 of these Colossal lists also. But yeah, for the metagame, the most popular decks were Zacian ADP, Eternatus, Blacephalon, Pika-Rom, Scorch, Zacian Luke Metal, Lightning Mew 3. After that, the numbers get a lot smaller, but I think we could say that those were the most popular. 21 Lightning Mew 3 all the way up to 35 Zacian ADP. And I think these are 7 of the top decks in the current format, and also the most popular, so I don't think this is any surprise to see these decks be the most popular. Out of all those decks I just mentioned, the only one with under a 50% win rate was Blacephalon. Zacian ADP just over 50, Eternatus well over 50, Pika-Rom Scorch well over 50, Lightning Mew 3 a little bit over 50, and it also won the tournament, and Luke Metal Zacian at exactly 50%. Let's see what the highest placing Luke Metal Zacian was 10th place, 10-3. So now that we've checked out the metagame a bit, I don't think there's any big surprises here. In the win rates, like I said, I think the big surprise with the win rates is Colossal VMAX doing exceptionally well. Zacian ADP being super popular, but right around that 50% win rate is kind of what I expect, and it's super indicative of what I think of Zacian ADP right now. I think it's very popular. I think it's safe. I think it's a strong deck, but I don't think it's... I don't think it has an insane matchup spread right now. The format is very diverse in that you can play so many different decks, but if you take a closer look, the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the top 11 archetypes here, if you don't include other, which is just rogue decks, 10 out of 11 of the top 10 out of 11 of the top played archetypes here are either focused on a 3-prize Pokemon, or they rely on a 3-prize Pokemon like Zacian ADP. So although the format is diverse with a lot of different decks to choose from, I hate that it's so 3-prize centric, and 3-prize Pokemon just kind of ruin the game in my opinion. And that's just my thoughts on the standard format. So although it's very diverse, it's better than the Darkness Ablaze standard format was, just because there's more decks to choose from now. And I also think decks have gotten a little bit better against Zacian ADP overall. But 3 prizers running the format is just bad for the game, because games are over much more quickly and there's less decisions, there's less skill, there's more variance, there's less room for creativity, I think. But super diverse format, and we'll go ahead and look at the decks that got top 8 at this tournament. So we'll start out with Ricardo Toddy getting 8th place with Zacian ADP. And let's take a look at this list. We'll open it up into the image generator and get a better look at this. So this is like the cookie cutter ADPZ. Maybe the only thing I would say to change and make this like the standard ADPZ is just make it 2 energy spinner, 4 energy switch, and then boom, you've got like the most generic ADPZ list, and that's fine. Keep ADPZ simple. That's how I look at it. This isn't very far away from mine, except I do have a Leon in my list, and I do have an amazing rare Jirachi in my list. But other than that, really solid list, because he's just sticking to what works. 4 Gusts, 2 Dedenne, an Eldegoss, 4 Zacian, 4 Research, a couple Marnies, switching outs, Swell, you know, energy spinners, energy switches, tool scrapper for Luke Metal. Very, very simple, straightforward, and that's what all you need to do with ADPZ. So I'm not going to go too far into that list, since it is like I said, very generic, but that's good. That's all you need to do with ADPZ. You don't need to think outside the box, in my opinion, for that deck. Next, we've got Marlon with the 7th place Colossal list. There was 7th and 6th place. Let's take a look at this. I'm kind of excited to see it, since it has Aerodactyl GX. And as far as I know, I pioneered the thought of Aerodactyl GX in Colossal VMAX, but they're actually using Mewtwo to copy Aerodactyl's attack as opposed to Research Lab, which this was a thought I had. We could just copy Aerodactyl with Mew Mew against like Centiskorch VMAX instead of using Research Lab, but I thought Research Lab was better to give you an out versus Luke Metal as well, to just like set the Aerodactyl, because Aerodactyl's ability is actually really good. We'll just take a quick look at Aerodactyl, since I am talking about it a lot. It has the Primal Winds ability. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's basic Pokemon's attacks cost +1 more. And then it has the Wild Dive attack, 50 times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. That's Wild Dive GX. So that's the attack that the Mew Mew would be copying. So yeah, my list that I posted on YouTube about a week ago or so was using Research Lab to pop out the Aerodactyls. This list is using Mew Mew to just copy the Wild Dive attack. They're also using Crushing Hammers, which I think is pretty good, because flipping heads on hammers can really turn the tides of the game against a lot of decks. Not against decks with energy acceleration, typically, like Boltund decks and Centiskorch, but against ADP, if you get rid of the water energy, that could be big. Against Eternatus, you're probably already beating Eternatus, but maybe they have weakness guard energy and you want to get rid of that. So this is, I think this is a super solid list. I don't typically, or not typically, but I don't currently prefer playing Colossal VMAX with the Crobats and Dedennes and those liabilities on the bench. As you may know from my previous videos, I like the Snorlax build, but I do think this list looks super, super solid. Built for consistency with the 8 draw supporters, the multiple support Pokemon. You've got the Dedenne, Crobat, Eldegoss, and the Gurus. The Primate Wisdom is also used to set the top card of the deck. So when you use Eruption Shot with Colossal VMAX, you guarantee getting that energy excelled. Like I said, the Crushing Hammer, a nice addition to the Colossal VMAX archetype. Crushing Hammer, whether you like it or not, does swing games, so it's sometimes going to work out for you and not work out so well for your opponent. And maybe Crushing Hammer is what Colossal VMAX needs to just tip it over the edge. We have seen that with decks like Pikarom in the Darkness Ablaze standard format. Some people thought it needed Crushing Hammers to kind of meet the new power level of the game, to just slow down the opponent on that coin flip and then come ahead because of it. So yeah, really cool deck. Surprised not to see Sirfetch'd V in this, but I guess you don't have the room because of the Mew Mew and the Aerodactyl. So that's the 7th place Colossal VMAX list. Let's go ahead and look at the 6th place list, piloted by Alex Bailey. I was following their run on Twitter, and I had noticed they were playing 3 Rotom Phone, which is not a card that has seen a lot of play. So Rotom Phone from Champion's Path. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose one of them, shuffle the others back into your deck, and put the card you chose on top of the deck. This is going to grab an energy, put it on the top, and let you Eruption Shot it to do extra damage and also accelerate it, as well as they're playing Guru. And so Rotom Foam can also be used to dig and draw a card because they're playing Judge Whistle. Choose one, either draw a card or put a Judge card from your discard pile into your hand. Now they're not playing any Judges in this list, but this can just let you draw a card to combo it well with Rotom Phone. The 3 buff padding, making sure your Colossal VMAX is always getting that extra HP. 2 Malolana. Only 3 Stone Energy, which I do think is a bit odd since Eruption Shot can accelerate any kind of energy, but for Martial Arts Dojo you need the basic energy. I do think that's a little bit odd though to only run the 3 stone. I would just go with the full 4, but Alex is the one getting top 6 with this deck. Top 6, getting 6th place with this deck, not me. So congrats to Alex for taking this really cool list with Rotom Phone and Judge Whistle to top 8 of this massive Limitless tournament. Next up, we are looking at Lucas O piloting Eternatus, and it is not, I repeat, it is not Poison Eternatus. It is just plain old Eternatus with not really a ton of counters to Zamazenta, nothing countering Colossal VMAX. It does have the Sableye V, the Eviltal, and Hoopa as non-VMAX attackers. Also, the Crobat V is a non-VMAX attacker, but typically those aren't enough to combat Zamazenta in the Luke Metal matchup. But Luke Metal Z is, I don't even think it was one of the top 5 most popular decks. Let's just double check that here. It was number 6, tied for number 5, so fairly popular, but you could realistically go into this tournament taking a loss to Luke Metal Z and be just fine. So this is one of the more straightforward builds of the deck. I really like that players have been using 4 bosses orders in Eternatus VMAX. This is something I've noticed in lists that I've been seeing on Twitter as of late. Because Eternatus VMAX swinging for 270 on anything at once on turn 2, if you have that boss in hand, is really, really good. Because a lot of times playing against Eternatus in the DAA format, I noticed myself saying, you know what, I'll just attach to this, leave it on the bench, pass, chill for a turn, because my opponent isn't going to be able to like Crobat fill their bench and have boss. But when the opponent has 4 boss in their deck, that's much, much more likely. They're also playing 2 Reset Stamp and 3 Power Plant, which is really, really strong. Against Pika Rom because they rely on Dedenne GX for draw, against Mewtwo because of their ability that they need perfection to work pretty much, and just a lot of decks using Dedenne GX pretty much. So yeah, kind of a straightforward build. Like I said, the 2 Reset Stamp 3 Power Plant sticks out, and I like seeing 4 boss. I think that's something that should stick around. Next, we've got Baby Blacephalon Christian Chase from Pokestats Gang with the 19 Disgusto Fire Energy list of Blacephalon. No telescopic sight, which is a bummer because that's one of my favorite cards from the set, but this is just built for consistency. Look at how clean the list looks. It barely even takes up any room. 4 Blacephalon, 4 Jirachi, and then you got your one-off techs, and not even an overabundance of them, or not even techs really. You have the 1 tech. You got Cramorant V. But the rest is just consistency. Your Crobat, the Dene, Zacian, Mewtwo to get back supporters, and Oricorio to draw. And then all these 4-ups, 4 Welder, Quick Ball, Crystal, Scoop Up Net, Switch, Hearth, double Great Ball, and then 1 Boss's Orders and 19 Fire Energy. So the only thing I can see really bothering this deck is either Plant Stamp or Chaotic Swell Stamp, which might honestly be what got him. I forget what he played against in top 4. This is 4th place, right? I think I said this was 4th place. No, it's 5th. 4th place, yeah. So I'll have to see what he played against. But really, really consistent looking Blounds list. This is probably where you should start when you're building Baby Blounds. And let's see what he played against. So Christian lost to David Keep, which I think we're about to look at their list. Their list is 2nd place, so we'll get there in a second. But next we're looking at Seg PTCGO coming in third place with Centiskorch. Third and second place were both Centiskorch. We got 3-3 Scorch, 3 Jirachi. Okay, this is looking like cookie cutter Centiskorch. I've been told that the Bird Keeper is not actually that unique. Like, a lot of people have been playing one Bird Keeper. That might be because Cash played a Bird Keeper and then people just start copying him because people just look at Cash as the Centi god. Like, what did Cash play for Centiskorch? Okay, I'm playing Centiskorch, so I'll just copy that list. The Wondrous Labyrinth is cute. I like to see that. The one Stamp Lab can sometimes get people. Yeah, this is good job on third place. The list isn't anything like spectacular, nothing unique, but definitely solid, consistent, and tried and true with Centiskorch. So I won't spend too much time on that, but congrats to Seg. And then David Keep, I was interested to see if they were playing Reset Stamp. Looks like they are. Yeah, honestly, pretty similar to the previous list, except no Wondrous Lab, which is more typical. The fourth Scorch instead of 3-3, just really built for consistency and built off of this typical kind of scoop up net version of Centiskorch VMAX, which we've been seeing for quite a while now. So again, solid looking list. Congrats on second place. Nothing too unique going on though in the list, so we won't spend more time on it. And then finally, the first place. It was so awesome to watch Pedro win this tournament. He was like singing and dancing in a circle with his world's trophy on stream. So Pedro still jamming the Lightning Mew 3. Still working with this, and it's still going well for him. Definitely different than the list I've been playing, but it's all based off of the original deck that he and Tord made in the for the Players Cup 2. So the Vikavolt V, I believe, is something a little bit newer to the deck. Still sticking with the 2 Reset Stamp, which I really like having, because you try to force your opponent to knock out a Bolt Ton and a 3 prize Pokemon, whether it is Mewtwo, Pika, or Choo-Choo, and then you try to stamp them to 1 and swell. He's playing 3 Dedenne GX, which is nice for consistency, and he's playing 4 Cherish Ball, 4 Quick Ball, 1 Electromagnetic Radar. So gosh, you are getting a Dedenne GX one way or another when you need it, with all of that search and the 3 actual Dedenne GX in the deck. Excuse me. Other than that, he's got the Greninja GX, which can swing through things like the Decidueye and Obstagoon. Vileplume, which is a really good 2 energy attacker for 180. Nagana to snipe the bench for 170. Galarian Sirfetch'd, which can hit Eternatus, Pika, Choo-Choo, any of those fighting weak Pokemon for weakness and blow them up for 400 damage. The Bolt Ton is really a key player here with the Electrify to accelerate energy, as well as Coco Prism, which accelerates energy. And then Pika and Raichu, which are just the stereotypical lightning attackers. So this is one of my favorite decks in the format, not necessarily this list, because I think this deck, the player really decides what they want in this kind of deck. It is a toolbox deck, and Mew decks are typically built to the player's preference. But congratulations to Pedro on an awesome finish in, I think, Limitless's biggest weekly tournament thus far. Let's just go look at the players that were in it one more time. There were 277 players in this tournament, and I believe after 8 hours of playing, Pedro came out on top with a record of 14-2. And he only lost to Eternatus decks. He lost to Antoine with Eternatus, who went 8-5, and he lost to Lucas O with Eternatus, who finished in the top 8. So he only lost to players who ended up doing really well themselves, and he only lost to Eternatus. So do with that information what you will, but congrats to Pedro, and thank you so much to Limitless for holding these events, which are amazing, and for the spectacular new play.limitlesstcg.com site, which is just the greatest resource I think we've ever gotten for online Pokemon TCG. So I hope you enjoyed this metagame analysis and also the deck list profiles of the top 8 decks from this tournament. Let me know what kind of content you want to see in the future on this channel in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe for daily Pokemon TCG content, leave a like, and also check out PotownStore.com for all of your PTCGO needs, and use code CELIO for 5% off. I really appreciate you coming through to watch this video. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.